Hello everyone, it's Simmuz here. Welcome to a brand new video, and I am doing something different. So before this video starts, as always, if you want to support my channel, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like to this video so that we can make more videos like this one. But you have seen from the title and the thumbnail, we are talking about the weird release pattern for The Sims 4 and its DLCs. So we're doing something different today because this one is not a scripted video where I talk about these things, but I do have a lot of data that I want to talk about, and I have a few pointers in front of me of things that I want to mention in this video. So hopefully we can all talk about together about the release pattern of DLCs for The Sims 4, which I think is pretty weird and you probably mostly agree. And the reason I'm starting this video is because of the fact that we are getting another expansion pack this year right after we got one, which is pretty weird. So if you don't know, we got Growing Together this year in March as one of the biggest major launches for The Sims 4. So The Sims 4 has reached also 70 million players since it has gone free to play. So I think that being the first expansion pack, so the major DLC after that, really helped the push of views, and most people really enjoyed Growing Together. I really enjoyed Growing Together, so I think it was a very great first start for the Sims team after the game has gone free to play. So after Growing Together in March, we are now expecting another expansion pack, Horse Ranch, in July. So that is very close together. Usually we were used to getting one expansion pack a year in the last couple of years. We did used to get 2 expansion packs beforehand, and we're gonna talk about that with the data and everything, but not as closed as these 2 are. And there's been a lot of speculation going on Twitter, especially, that I've seen, of people thinking, oh, maybe the Horse Ranch expansion pack was supposed to be a game pack, because usually we do get a game pack after an expansion pack or beforehand, and we haven't gotten one yet. I have tracked a lot of data, put all the dates together, and made this little timetable of all the expansion pack released. So as you can see right here, in 2015 we got 2 expansion packs, so as it happened already. I actually think the one between 2016 and 2017, we might check that later with the data. I also have all the different timetables for the packs releases. I think that's the biggest gap for 2 expansion packs so far. The 2016-2017 game packs, which are City Living and Cats and Dogs, if I'm not mistaken. Then we got 2018, 19, and 20, 2 expansion packs all the time in June and in November. So we started that pattern, a little pattern to establish. And then I guess with the pandemic and such, that changed. In 2021 we got only 1, and in 2022 we only got 1, both in July instead of June, and 2 big major expansion pack that people enjoyed. And then we come to 2023, where you can clearly see that is the smallest gap between 2 expansion pack ever. But let's move into the actual timetables with all the gaps between packs, and you can see we got Get to Work and Get Together. Those between these first 2 expansion pack, we got 252 days, so less than a year. The biggest gap is between Cats and Dogs and City Living, as you can see, is 374 days. We also got a decently big gap between 2021 and 2022, between Cottage Living and High School Years, with 371, almost the same as the other one. But again, this might be because of the pandemic going on, so they probably weren't as interested in releasing bigger projects. So even if they were initially, as we saw from the timetable, releasing 2 expansion packs every year, 2018, 19, and 20, with the pandemic they scaled back to probably only 1. And now we're coming back into 2 apiece, because now the pandemic is getting over. We're getting over the pandemic, where people are going back to office, working together a little bit more. So probably with the easing off of all the restrictions, that's why we're getting to apiece this year. But as you can see, between Growing Together and Horse Ranch, we are only getting 126 days, which is the smallest gap Only the closest ones are the Island Living and Discovery University and Get Famous and Seasons. Those are 147, which, you know, it's still like more than 20 days what we're getting now. So it really feels like we're getting one right after the other. So with this being the smallest gap between EPs, I feel like people are feeling a little overwhelmed maybe, and I am personally also very confused because usually we're getting a game pack at this point. A lot of people are speculating that Horse Ranch was supposed to be a game pack at the beginning, but because of the animation process and everything, they changed it into an expansion pack because they added so much animation with the new horses and all of that. But my issue with that, thinking that they just decided to change it into an expansion pack, it doesn't make much sense to me, because it does fit with the expansion pack that we got so far. Because if we take into consideration what we're getting with Horse Ranch, which is horses and a few other smaller animals, we're getting the goats and the mini goats and the mini sheeps and the nectar making. So we got like a decent amount of gameplay. If we compare it to Cottage Living, where we got farming, the chickens, we got cows and llamas, basically we're getting kind of the same stuff. Or if we compare it to Cats and Dogs, in Cats and Dogs we only got cats and dogs and the new venues for the veterinarians. So if we're getting a new venue with Horse Ranch, which I think we are, it should be the Ranch venue. I'm not sure if it's a completely new one or like a residential type venue. I honestly, at this point, as of me recording this, I'm not sure when this is coming out, but as of me recording it, we don't know much about Horse Ranch other than the first trailer, and a little of information on like the word and what you can do in the word. So I'm going off the cuff here. I feel like we are getting a new venue, so if that's the case, that is very similar to Cats and Dogs, so at this point it makes sense that it's an expansion pack. You could argue that maybe Horse Ranch was supposed to come later this year, which I feel like it could have come later this year. Maybe they wanted to like put it before summer because it's a very summery type pack, just because of the fact that you go out with the horses, you're outside and all of that, and it gives very summer vibes more than like autumn or winter, but I feel like it could have made sense. Also, people are speculating that this means it's the end of game packs, and I know we are been burned before with the stuff packs, and I'm gonna talk about that later. But I don't think we're getting rid of game packs anytime soon. I actually believe, I'm not 100% sure, I believe they already said that there's a game pack coming later this year, which makes sense in my opinion. It should come later, like in September, October, I feel. And we're gonna talk about that when we're talking about game packs. But when I say before doing that, I wouldn't be worried that game packs are getting taken away. We're probably are seeing the last few packs for The Sims 4 at this point. With all the Project Rene stuff coming out, I feel like Project Rene will be announced next year. Not coming out next year, but announced officially. And I feel like they're slowing down on content, so that's probably the reason why we haven't seen a game pack yet. But if we check out the timetable for game packs, you can see here we usually get a couple game packs every year or so, except I would say mostly two. 2015 we got two, in 2016 we only got one, in 2017 we got two, 2018 one, 2019 two, 2020 one. Then in 2021 we got one and the refresh, so you know, kind of a new game pack, not really. And in 2022 we got two. You know, there is a little pattern here, 2-1, 2-1, you could say that. But if we check the gap between game packs, you can see the biggest gap so far has been Strangerville and Jungle Adventure with almost a year, 364 days instead of 365. So that was the biggest gap ever. We also got a big gap between Realm of Magic and Journey to Bot 2 with almost another year, 363 days. You know, there's been a few like bigger gaps between game packs, but it is true that this is the biggest gap yet, because if we check since Werewolves, if we take in consideration the 5th of July of this year as a random date I picked, it's 384 days gap. It's gonna be more than that because we're getting the Horse Ranch expansion pack in July, so we're not getting a game pack in July. I'm thinking we're probably gonna wait until September, October, maybe even November, just before the holidays. So I will wait a little bit more for a game pack. It's gonna be the biggest gap between game packs, which is interesting. Is it gonna be because they are working on this game pack a lot and it's gonna be a lot of content, or is it because there's some other internal reasons for it? I feel like it's interesting though. We're definitely seeing that they're slowing down on the game packs, which makes sense if you are also taking into consideration that this is probably the last few years of the Sims 4's life, so it makes sense they're slowing down on content. So that's probably why we're only getting one game pack this year, and it's gonna be late in the year. But again, looking at the game packs like gaps, you can see that there has been some decently like bigger gaps. So I'm not too worried that game packs are, going away anytime soon. Now, doing my research, what I found fun and interesting to see is this stuff pack situation, and I understand that this is the reason why a lot of people are, afraid that game packs are going away, which again, I don't think they are. But if we look at the timetable with stuff packs and with kits, we can really see that when kits started to exist, stuff packs stopped existing. It's very clear from the timetable, I feel. You can see we used to get 4, 5 in the first few years. We got 4 in 2015, 5 in 2016, 3 in 2017, then 2, 1, 2, and 1 last at the beginning of 2021, when then we got kits as it introduced right after. And when kits were introduced, stuff packs just stopped existing all of a sudden. I know a lot of people are complaining about this, and the sim gurus on Twitter said that the stuff packs are coming, that they're not dead or whatever. And I know also that the Sims official account on TikTok, they actually replied to a comment, if I'm not mistaken, that was asking about stuff packs with the eye emojis. And so there's speculation that stuff pack might be coming back. It's interesting to see that we got a lot of kits all back to back, which probably is the reason why a lot of people were burned by kits. But if you check the time situation, they started with the pandemic. So probably with them scaling back on content because of the pandemic, since that's the reason we got less expansion packs also, it makes sense that they are focusing on kits as another way to add content into the game, of course to make money. That's their goal, and to do so without having to put in as much stuff. Basically, it's less content, so it takes less time, it's easier to make, and it's less possible that it's gonna break the game. So it makes sense that they're releasing a lot of kits. I feel like we are seeing kits slowing down already. Take 2021 and 2022 together and put them by side. Right now you can see in 2021 we got a lot of kits, and almost every month at this point. In 2022 we got a few gaps between kits, and in 2023 we're getting another few gaps. So we're definitely seeing more kits coming, 100%. So we're definitely not seeing any kits anymore. We're also getting kits in 2024 for sure, because we're getting the community voted kits that they are talked about. But you can clearly see, I feel like they are slowing down still on kits. So I feel like maybe they are pulling back a little bit on kits now that they're going back to the office, and maybe we will see a stuff pack coming back, which would be interesting, because if we go on the stuff packs gaps, we can see there is a stark difference. The biggest gaps, so before this big hiatus, let's call it, was between My First Pet Stuff and Moschino, which, if you don't know, My First Pet Stuff was the, I guess, worst received stuff packs ever so far. And I feel like they took that much time. It's 518 days, which is a lot. It's more than a year, almost a year and a half, I feel. The reason they took so much time between them is they wanted people to first, get over the My First Pet Stuff fiasco, and also because they wanted to work on stuff packs a little bit more to give us better packs. And if we noticed, Moschino, Tiny Living, Nifty Knitting, and Paranormal are the stuff packs that came after My First Pet Stuff, and those are all well received, if I'm not mistaken. Most people really like those. I really like those. I feel like they did a very good job with all of them. I feel like that was their way of like redeeming stuff packs after the big fiasco of my first pet stuff. So that was the reason for that big gap. But Paranormal is a very well received stuff packs, so it doesn't make sense that since Paranormal it's been 890 days before we got another stuff packs. That's a long time. There's more than 2 years since we got our last stuff packs. So I understand that a lot of people feel like stuff packs are gone and dead, which could be true honestly, but with the comment on TikTok by the Simmuz team, I feel like it might be actually coming back. The reason is they also have been replying a lot to other comments asking for horses, cars and fairies. And we already are, horses are confirmed. I feel like we could get fairies later this year with the game pack that we are waiting for, as I talked before, and we could see cars. At this point, they have been hinting about 4 cars in the game since, I don't know, a couple of years at this point, maybe even more. I remember a while back when they brought the terrain tools in the game and they were presenting them. There were a lot of hints about cars in that live stream where they're presenting the terrain tools. So it's been, I feel, more than 2 years since they've have been hinting about cars. So I feel like we could see cars coming later this year, maybe in a kit. I would say maybe cars are coming like in an update for base game, and we're getting a kit about cars, which I feel like makes sense. But yeah, stuff packs have been gone for a very long time, and kits have kind of replaced them so far. I really wanna know if you think like we're getting another stuff packs with the hint from the Sims team on TikTok, or if you feel like stuff packs are gone for good and we're only gonna get kits, which I feel could be a possibility. Another interesting thing that I got, with like covering up data, I put in all the packs that we got every year. As you can see, between the years, you can see that the content is slowing down, except for the kits. The kits definitely have the bigger bar, but at the same time, they are also getting smaller at the same time. And I feel like, again, kits were brought in because of the pandemic and they wanting to stop stuff packs and focus on smaller content that they could easily throw out. But you can clearly see, I feel like there's a slowing down of content in The Sims 4, and of course, the 2023 column, which is the last one, is not completed because we still haven't gotten all the stuff packs and kits and whatever and all the DLC this year's. I feel like we're gonna see a little blue bar for a game pack later this year, and maybe a couple maybe more kits. We'll see. But what's interesting, if we take into consideration the expenses every year, the total amount of expenses for the game each year is more or less the same. You can see it. I did yearly expenses for The Sims 4. The most pricey year for The Sims 4 content, if you wanted to buy every pack and if you wanted to buy them at full price, was 2015, the first year where they started releasing DLCs. Game came out, I think, September or late September of 2014. First DLCs in January of 2015. So that was the most expensive year. The least expensive years were 2016 and 17, reason being we only got 1 expansion pack, and that's very much different from 2018, 19 and 20 where we got 2. I know 2021 and 2022 we got 1 expansion pack, but we did get 2 game packs. At the same time, I don't feel like 2022 is much higher than 2016 or 2017. So if you see them all side by side, except of course with 2023 being incomplete so far, it's probably gonna go up a little bit more. The average is pretty much the same. And here is the timetable with every single pack released from 2015 to so far in 2023. And yeah, there's a lot of packs coming out, and they came out. And of course, if you haven't noticed already, expansion packs are light blue, game packs are blue, stuff packs are green, and kits are purple. And we also got the red dot for this Spa Day refresh. Reason being, I wanted to keep it different because if you already own Spa Day, it wasn't like any expenses because it was just an update basically. And if you wanted to buy it because you didn't have Spotted, there was an incentive, I feel, to buy it. So I felt like it wasn't really a game pack, but it was technically a game pack, so you know, it's kind of a weird situation there. But you can see, I feel, first and first, weirdly, this year is the first year that we got any content in April, which I feel like is interesting because usually April's being the end of the fiscal year, they didn't used to release any pack around there, and now we got 2 kits for that year. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if the fiscal year changed. I don't think it can. So I don't know what's up with that. Maybe those kits were supposed to come out later this year and they pushed them. I'm not really sure. But what we can definitely tell is that for the last half of 2023 we are missing a game pack based on the years before. I guess 2022 we didn't get a game pack that far into the year. We did in 2019, 2020 and technically 2021 in September, but in 2022 we did get 2 game packs because we got the one in February. So you know, I feel like it's so weird because there's not a clear pattern of like how they're releasing this stuff. It feels like sometimes there's a pattern, like you can tell that from 2016 and 2020 they really wanted to release at least an expansion pack in November, right before the holidays, which makes sense, but then they didn't do it in 2021, 2022. You could argue COVID, but they didn't do it in 2023 either, but they did have 2 expansion packs. That's what it's really like, no, I don't get it. I don't understand. Why are these 2 expansion packs coming out back to back? That is my issue. Is the reason maybe because they're, you know, with Project Renee coming out, will it be announced this November maybe? And they want people to focus on pre-ordering the new game instead of like buying a new game pack or expansion pack for The Sims 4. Maybe that's the reason. And we're gonna see a game pack maybe in September, just, you know, to fill in the gap, a couple of kits here and there, and then maybe the announcement. Maybe that's the reason. So I'm gonna leave you with all these timetables and you can check them out. Of course, as always, if you follow me on Instagram or on Twitter or any other socials, I also have Hive now because, you know, Twitter is going down maybe. Who knows what's happening to Twitter. So if you follow me on any of those social platforms, I will be posting all these timetables and all the information that I'm used in this video and all the stuff that I gathered, so you can check that out. Also, of course, you can pause the video anytime if you want to check them for yourself. But please let me know in the comments what you think. Why are we getting 2 expansion packs back to back? What's up with game packs? Are we seeing a game pack coming later this year? Are game pack down forever? Will we see a stuff pack come back with this hint from the Sims team? And how many kits will be released this year? I'm very interested in your idea. I feel like with 6, we are already kind of at the limit for this year. I feel we might see a couple more. Not much more, I don't think. I guess that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe to my channel if you aren't already, put on notifications so that you know when the next video is coming out. I promise there's more videos coming out. I also stream, all my socials are in the description down below, so check me out, and thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.